Today, Premier Andrews, the Victorian Government, will apologise for the unjust laws of the past and the harm they have caused for decades. We can't underestimate the human toll that these laws have taken on people such as Noel Tovey, Tom Anderson, Peter McEwan and Terry Kennedy. These laws have taken their toll, and it's time that these wrongs were righted by the Victorian Government. The apology today will start to right these wrongs, but it also affirms our dignity as human beings. Today, there are young people, young gay and lesbian people around Australia struggling with their sexuality, and this apology will help ease the shame and stigma felt by these young people who are finding their place in the world.
First of all, I want to say that this is a really momentous day for me, because I never thought that I would live to see this day in Australia. And I think it's also a very good day for every gay man, because finally the government of Victoria is viewing us or seeing us as real human beings, and that's really important. When I was in jail contemplating suicide, I never thought that I would actually get out of Pentridge alive. I went through a very bad time. I made my debut at Her Majesty's Theatre in 1954, and the dancers, including the principal dancer, went to the English choreographer and said that they refused to work with me. And when she asked them why, they said I was a notorious homosexual, that I'd been in jail, and that I was Aboriginal. I learned many years later, at a reunion, I learned that she said to them, well, you can all leave if you want to. I can get more of you, but I can't get one more of him, and made me the understudy to the principal dancer. And many years later, when I was in the European premiere of O Calcutta, I made her my ballet mistress. So what goes around comes around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back in 1977, when I was a victim of child abuse, when I went to the police as a 14-year-old, when I told my story to the police, I was also charged with 3 offences. 1 count of buggery and 2 counts of gross indecency. I then had to go before the Children's Court and plead guilty, apologise to the magistrate, and also promise never to do it again. Now, I was a naive 14-year-old. I could not comprehend or could not understand what was actually happening to me. At no time did I have legal representation, and back then, no time did I receive any counselling. I can remember the police telling my parents, don't worry, he won't need counselling, he'll get over it. I just lived with that secret. It affected my relationships growing up and going through high school. I think I lived as a hermit without having the ability to actually make friendships or build friendships or maintain friendships. It also affected my relationships with others, and all my life I've had trust issues, especially when dealing with any matter of dealing with the police. Every time I had to go to a police, even when I was a victim of a burglary, when I went to the police and the police came to my place, I became that 14-year-old boy again. Back in 2010, I went public with my secret because every time I'd been and had counselling, the first question a counsellor or a therapist would ask me is, why did this happen to you? And I could never be able to answer that question. I couldn't comprehend why did this actually happen? Why did it have to happen? Why did it have to happen? And it took me a long time to work out that I actually had done nothing wrong. I finally came to terms with that, probably only in the last 6 years, that I actually did do nothing wrong. But today, for me, is finally a public acknowledgement that I actually did nothing wrong. And to have that to have that full acknowledgement, yeah, it's a big step in being able to put all this behind me and actually continue on with the rest of my life kind of thing. It's a culmination of a 6-year dream. Actually, I started off in 2010 hoping to get an apology. I was told back then that my dream was quite chaotic, and I was aiming high, but I never gave up. I campaigned on my own for 2 years before using social media, and then through Anna Brown and the Human Rights Law Centre, they were able to pick up my case, pick up my campaign, and then champion my cause for the past 4 years. And I can't acknowledge enough the support and the friendship that I've received from Anna Brown. Not just as my lawyer, but also as a friend. Checking on me, seeing how I'm doing, keeping me updated, and taking this further than I could ever take this myself. I'm just very honoured and very proud to be able to be here today and actually hear this apology. It's a pinnacle of the campaign, and it's going to be a high point for my life. And thank you very much.
I'm Peter McEwan. I just turned 17 in 1967 when I was arrested, and I really didn't know what was happening to me. And for about 4 years after that, I just shut down and was in a state of shock. So today means a lot to me, and 39 years later, I had the first conversation I've ever had with my older brother, who's on the steps with me today, about this, because it was never spoken about. And I have 3 sisters coming to see the apology. Our family never spoke about it, so it is a big thing. And it's also, I believe, important for every young girl and boy growing up today who feels different, for Parliament to say, you're okay, you're a good person. Thank you.
Well, I'm Jamie Gardiner. I'm a long-time campaigner. In fact, I've been on this particular trail for just over 40 years. And I think this is an absolutely wonderful and important symbolic milestone on a long journey from persecution to protection and indeed celebration. I've worked with people at every stage of this journey, from when gay men were all prima facie outlaws to now when the state is about to make a formal apology to us for the laws that both sides of Parliament have acknowledged should never have existed. I think really that's the main thing to say. Those laws should never have existed. They were unjust. Those who suffered directly under them can now get their records expunged, treated as if they had never been, and protected against the prying eyes of even casual researchers, let alone people who gossiped about them years ago. But this apology is important for the whole state, because everyone was harmed by the prejudice that led to and was fueled by those laws. Not only the people who were convicted, but their relatives, their mothers, their fathers, their brothers and their sisters, their children or nieces and nephews, as we have seen in some of the comments on Daniel Andrews' Facebook posts. People who lost relatives to suicide as a result of these laws. Everyone in this society is damaged by prejudice, and this is a prejudice that has lived on in these records and is now being expunged where it's possible, where the people are still alive, or the people who can go for a posthumous expungement become aware of that. But it's everyone. The laws and their random, arbitrary enforcement back then amounted really to a campaign of terror. They terrorised the population, they terrorised gay men in particular, and lesbians, and our friends and families. To have a formal state apology in Parliament, as well as the legislation from 2014 from both sides of Parliament, to have a formal apology that the state acknowledges that these laws were wrong and regrets and says sorry, is a wonderful thing. And I congratulate the government and the Premier for their very real commitment to that apology, to genuinely saying sorry in full knowledge of what it means to us and all of us, for us and for all of us.
Well, today we turn a new page in our state's history, righting past wrongs and, through the Premier's apology, striving towards equality for gay, lesbian and bisexual Victorians. For many years, gay and bisexual men and women have had to live with convictions for something that should never have been a crime. And today's apology is a sign that those times when we considered homosexuality a criminal offence are so far behind us now. This is an important step in the long journey towards equality for LGBTI Victorians, and hopefully an important step in the healing process for the men and women and their families that have been affected by these convictions. Today we can say that we live in a state that not only recognises its past mistakes, but embraces the people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities that make up our community. So I say thank you. Thank you to the men who have had the courage to speak out. Thank you to the advocates who have fought for their cause. And thank you to the many politicians across the political chamber who will today say a long-awaited for sorry and close this dark chapter in our state's history.
It's impossible to overestimate the effect of the apology on these men in dealing with the hurt for their wrongful convictions. But I also think it's impossible to overestimate the symbolic importance of the Premier of our state on the House of Parliament, on the floor of Parliament, speaking on behalf of the Victorian population as a whole, apologising for these wrongs and for the hurt, and also the implication that the Premier is acknowledging the value and dignity of LGBTI people's lives. This apology does both. It addresses the harm, but it also is a public recognition of the value of LGBTI Victorians. And like all the other speakers, I really want to congratulate the government for taking this and making this a public apology. So thank you.
The Victorian AIDS Council came out of the gay and lesbian rights movement of the early 1980s, and today we congratulate the state government on this historic apology. We hope that this goes to repairing decades of persecution and shame experienced by gay men and lesbians in our community. For many, though, sadly, they're no longer with us. As we came out of criminalisation, we moved into an epidemic of the AIDS crisis, and many of the people who should be hearing today's apologies are no longer with us. So today is not just about repairing history, it's also about healing and about reflecting on the lives of the loved ones and the friends who are no longer with us today to hear this apology. Thank you.